how far back you were, that makes the comeback story even better.
There's no good story that's not a comeback story.
Right.
You know?
Right. The value of adversity. You know, that's the molding
value
of
adversity. Wow. Not only they learn how to see themselves, they build resilience, but they also begin to value the adversity.
Yeah.
Because without the adversity, they wouldn't be the comeback kid. They wouldn't become the leader who transcends, right?
Right. Because, you know, you don't get courage until you go through.
Yeah, that's right.
You got to go through it. And then when you come out on the other side, the amount of courage that you have found in yourself is such a blessing. But if you don't have no adversity, you can't have no courage.
Welcome back to Increase. I got a real treat for you here today. I got my friend Kai Christopher here, educator, artist, entrepreneur, app developer.
Yeah, a lot of hats.
Yeah, a lot of hats. Glad you're here with me. Kai's got just an exciting project that is serving the community, is mainly serving middle school children. But you adults that are on your road, you're on your journey to success, I want you to get your pen and paper out and I want you to take notes, because what this man is trying to teach our children is the things that we need to learn to do to be successful in our adult years. And Kai, no one taught me this stuff when I was a kid. Like the things that you're watching these students through, I had to learn because my life fell apart.
Me too.
right. And it's my hope as a dad that my kids won't have to fall into the same ditches and pitfalls that I did, that there's a way that I can impart that wisdom to them now, so as they grow and they become adults, they just naturally know how to do the right things that will lead them to success.
Yeah.
So I love what you're doing. Tell us more about what this project is. I've just described it in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
But tell our audience, what is this project that you've got going on?
So Creativity with Journalism is a creative writing literacy program that merges journalism with creative writing, and so by mixing journalism and creative writing, we've found these different stories that people can tell, but then we've also embedded the social emotional learning concepts into it to get that success principles and the things that we want to teach for character development as well. And so it starts off with brainstorm exercises, which are idea development exercises, and those help students develop the ideas, get it thoroughly through. And we're using descriptive and narrative essay concepts in that part. So they're doing main idea, supporting details, what's the beginning, middle, and the end of the story, and also what's the backstory and what's the details of the story. Right. And then we go through the drafting and editing process. And then at the end, they publish. And so here we have an example of the Creativity Tribune.
So they're publishing a newspaper, right?
Right. So that's the goal, is for every class to publish their own edition of the Creativity Tribune. Okay. Right. And so Tribune means protector, right? And so we want to protect their creativity and make sure that it's valued. Yeah. But, so it goes through each lesson is a section of the newspaper. And so, I think that it's just an engaging and fun experience, but it's also a good developmental experience, educationally and personally for the students.
So in just a minute, I want to dive into the success principles, because there's just some real deep wisdom woven into the exercises here. But just so we understand the backstory, so you are an educator from the classroom, you're also an entrepreneur, app developer. How did this come about? Most entrepreneurs, we see a problem and we feel compelled to action. In our entrepreneurial journey, our companies are formed to solve a problem in the marketplace, and I know this is one of those. So where did that come from? What was the problem you saw that you knew, hey, I can solve this?
I was working in classes and students would always tell me how bored they were. And they would tell me how much school was a waste of time. And the thing that was most alarming to me was that the students were hearing from so many people that it was a waste of time. And sometimes it would be parents at home, sometimes it would be uncles or cousins or, but then sometimes it would even be other teachers, because the reality is everyone knows that a lot of the information is outdated and it's not applicable for your future. And so we need new curriculum. At the time when I first started getting into curriculum, the year was 2008.
Okay.
I was teaching in Durham.
All right.
And
so you're not a newbie at this. This didn't start
Yeah.
yesterday. I gotcha.
And so I was teaching. I was a substitute teacher, but I was brought in full time to finish out the year because a teacher had quit, and they just asked me to close out the
Sure.
school year there. And so I'll never forget the day we were talking about one of the lessons, and I told somebody to reference the textbook, and he said, "Hey, this textbook is old." And I was like, well, all textbooks are old.
Right.
And I looked at the textbook, and it was from 1994.
Whoa,
in
14-year-old
2008.
textbook, right?
In 2008,
Right.
the textbook was from
So no wonder they were
1994.
disengaged. It wasn't relevant to their life.
And as I just thought about it, and I was like, and then I started, so this is what I remember the most when I just stopped looking through the textbook. It said, it got into, so it's a technology class,
Okay.
and it said that the newest form of music was the compact disc.
Oh my God.
I said, I got kids with
right.
iPods.
Yeah, I know, right?
Right, they got iPads, iPods, all the MP3
And you were
players.
only a year or two away from YouTube completely changing everything.
And this was
right?
talking
And
about
this
the
had
compact disc.
Right. All right, so then what led you to solve that problem?
Once I recognized that students were hungry for some more useful information, and once I also looking at the whole landscape of just where education was as a whole, there's not a lot of companies that were getting a lot of publicity at the time for creating curriculum, right? And so it seemed like a very open industry to take a part of, or to become a part of, and the need is just clear, especially when you look at the literacy rates and how much, if a school, in 2008 when I first started, if a school had 50% of its students at grade level, it was in the top 10% of the country.
Come on, man. Right.
That puts you in the top 10%. And when you get into the rural areas of the country,
it's even more.
I mean, it's less than 10% of students at grade level in certain areas.
Yeah.
And so we're at a time where technology is changing the student's experience.
Yeah.
And we got all of these different factors, affecting them mentally. When you think about social media and you think about just the effects of poverty, the effects of mass media as a whole, you got so many different factors. And so students need something that's new and engaging on a different level. What worked in the 90s and in the 80s was great for us, and it got us to where we are.
Right.
But students in the 2010s and the 2020s, they're going to be looking for something that's more advanced. And so, wanting to be a part of it. So I wasn't actually, I never wanted to be an app developer until I started to get into curriculum.
Yeah.
And I realized we're going to need apps and moving forward when books become outdated. And
so the app being the most efficient vehicle for the change you're trying to make. So if you're watching, I know there's aspiring entrepreneurs. You know there's more inside of you. You want to try this entrepreneur thing to start a company. And here's what I want you to hear from his story. Right now, we're in a time where we're bombarded on YouTube and social media about buy this course, Amazon dropship, Shopify, you can make money on YouTube. And I just think those are the wrong questions to start with if you want to start a company. Yes, some of those are easy to start, but the real question you want to ask yourself is, what is the problem that's pulling at my heart? What do I feel compelled to solve? And you're going to find these problems in your backyard. You're going to find them on your job. You're going to find them right where you are. The idea for your next business might be right where you are. So that's how most successful businesses get started. They're personal to the person who's solving that problem, rather than just seeing something that other people are doing.
Yeah.
No different than your story.
Yeah.
So I want to get into the content.
Yeah.
And my audience are not middle schoolers, right? But they might be educators. But really, there's just such brilliance of wisdom and depth and layers of what you've created, because it's leading students through some really important educational things, but it's undergirding them with the foundational principles of success that I'm trying to equip our audience with. And we may not be 9 and 10, but we absolutely are still students of those principles.
Yeah.
And so now's the time to take your pen and paper out. These are the principles that can lead to some long-term success. So maybe you'd walk us through.
Yeah.
I know it's a journey. I know these things are done in order. Maybe you can describe it and we can talk about the principles that undergird the whole project.
Yeah. Now, first I want to say that although it started for middle schoolers, it's currently for elementary schoolers.
Okay. Well, you can start
yeah,
even earlier.
We're getting even
so I don't
earlier.
think you can start too early with these success
You
principles.
can't. I don't. And so really this iteration of the program is for 3rd to 5th grade.
Okay.
And then there's also a prompt-based issue coming out for the middle school level.
Gotcha.
But what we're discussing here is actually for the elementary school, the older elementary schoolers.
All right. Even better.
But yeah, so it starts with the best day of your future.
Okay.
And that is a goal setting lesson about what you want to be when you grow up or what you want to do in the future. And what is it going to be like visualize the actual experience, but then also start to think about what it'll take to get there.
Man, what I love about that is you're teaching these kids the power of their imagination, the importance of being able to vision a future. I mean, successful leaders have got to be able to see a greater future. They've got to be able to then plan on how to get there. You know, and so they're being undergirded to know how to engage that higher faculty of thinking, even at a young age, to identify something. Because you're asking them to think out in the future, right?
Yeah, and to think of your biggest goal, right? So it starts off with like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And then it gets into, so what's the best day of that? Like, right? So it's like, if you want to be a pro basketball player, you want to win a championship. If you want to be a banker, what do you want to do in your community as a banker? You want to be a doctor, what do you really want to do? You know, they come in, from the range of people want to be a doctor, some of them want to invent medicine, some of them want to save a life in the ER.
And you have these students not only identify where they're trying to get to, but try to identify steps along the way to get there, right?
Definitely, that is a key part of it. So I like to have the conversation, and having it at the elementary level is so key, right? To say, well, what do you want to be, and what do you need to get there? And so if you want to be a doctor, what college do you want to go to?
Right.
Do you know what colleges are best for the type of medicine you want to practice? If you want to be an engineer, what college do you want to go to? Do you know what colleges are best for engineers? Have you ever just Googled what is the best colleges for a doctor?
So it's not just vision, it's not just goal setting, it's really strategic planning.
Yeah.
Coupled with it. You know, Stephen Covey said in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the second habit is to begin with the end in mind.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're training these kids at such a young age to have the importance of beginning with the end in mind.
I mean, that's the whole key, right? Is being able to keep your eyes on the prize, and that's what keeps you through adversity, able to just continue to move forward.
I don't know if you had this as part of your journey, but I definitely had moments in my journey where I was just existing, where I was just doing what's in front of me, but feeling frustrated and not fulfilled because I didn't have my eye on the greater vision. You know, as an adult, I still had to learn the hard way the importance of being able to do that.
Yeah, and for me, it's been at times of adversity trying to get back to remember, like, that's the why.
Yeah, right.
Like, we're not just pedaling, we're trying to get somewhere and remember where we're trying to get to. And as soon as you really get that vision and that thought, you know, that's energy and motivation.
That's it. You start to create momentum, you start getting pointed in the right direction. You know, a couple famous quotes. One, you know, Yogi Berra said, if you don't know where you're going, you'll end up somewhere else. In the Bible, Proverbs 29:18 says, without vision, the people perish. You know, so King Solomon, you know, arguably the wisest man that ever walked the earth, spoke of the importance of knowing where you're going.
Yes.
And if you don't, you'll wander off. And here you are teaching these kids at a young age, where are you going? And let's start making the plan to get there. All right, so where's this go to? So that was a great first module, but then it ain't over. They're just getting started. What comes next?
Next is the business section.
Okay.
And that is an innovation or an invention to help your community.
Oh, wow.
And so in that one, we want them to identify a problem and begin to start brainstorming a solution. And the key in that one, especially on the elementary level, that the solution doesn't necessarily have to make sense.
Okay. All right.
You know,
okay.
so we've got one of the episodes that we're working on the animation side is telling the story of a kid who wanted to make a robot that was a tailor that tailored clothes for homeless people just as it was going up and down the street.
Okay, wow.
And he said, how's it going to make the clothes? He said, it's going to make them out of love.
Oh, wow.
Perfect.
Right.
Write it.
Sure.
You know, it's still
We're not
creative
putting limits
writing.
on it right now.
It's still creative
the
writing.
The point of the exercise is to be creative, to see a problem, decide you want to solve it.
And to start thinking through and conceptualizing your solutions. And then also, since it's the business section, think about what type of business can be evolved or created around that solution, so that the solution can be sustainable and continue to solve the problem wherever it sees it.
Come on, man, you aspiring entrepreneurs, I mean, you heard enough right there to get started.
Right.
You know, at the base of successful businesses is someone who identified a problem in their community and said, I want to solve it. Too many businesses are started, like I said earlier, is I just want to try some things, I like to do some stuff, but haven't considered, does this really solve a problem?
Yeah. Will
people really pay for this problem to be solved? And now you're teaching these kids, a lot of them maybe don't have entrepreneur family, but are just learning, if you can see a problem, you can form a business.
Yeah.
You can solve the problem, you can make your community a better place.
And help develop your community, right? Let's start creating some jobs. Let's start creating some opportunities for people to live out their dreams that they were having as they were growing up, and creating avenues for them to then leverage that and take that on to create their own success. And let's just start thinking of more of a solution-based mindset towards just everything that we see. You know, like, who's looking for a problem to solve?
To solve. Man, too much, I feel like, of society is we complain about things, we get on our bully pulpit, we get on social media, we talk about how things aren't right. We need to start celebrating the people who are solving those problems, because the world becomes a better place when people start doing something about it.
It is, and so I'm very excited to see what my first graders and second, third graders, what type of middle schoolers and high schoolers are they going to be if they continue on with that problem solving mindset, where they're just looking for problems that they can solve.
And some of them might start businesses, but even the ones that don't, that is such an important leadership characteristic. You know?
Yeah.
Not to run from it, not to complain about it, not to make it somebody else's problem, not to blame, but to take responsibility, to take ownership of something and see it transform.
And just decide that I can be a solution to that problem.
Yeah.
I can.
I can. What an empowered state.
And that's one of the goals of that whole section.
Especially too many kids are growing up in impoverished areas where they don't feel empowered because they don't see empowerment around them. But you and I know that empowerment starts on the inside. It doesn't matter what's going on around.
Right. You know, I heard this great, I can't remember who said it. One is scrolling up and down social media, but he said, you know, people talk about resources, but it doesn't matter how many resources you get if you're not resourceful.
Oh, yeah.
Resources is external. Resourcefulness is internal.
There we go.
So I want to build resourcefulness inside their mindset. That what type of solutions are just inside my imagination already that we might be able to bring out, you know. And even though, you know, you can't make a tailor can't make clothes out of love right now, right? But eventually he's going to figure out things that Taylor can make clothes out of.
That's right. Well, hey, man, if you would have showed your cell phone to someone 200 years ago, they wouldn't even know what it was. They would have melted it down and made spoons out of it. You know what I mean?
Probably.
Right, because they didn't understand what was possible. So if you're listening, I hope you heard these powerful leadership principles. I want to challenge you. Look in your community. What are the problems that you're capable of solving? Take responsibility for making your community a better place. And who knows, you might even find a business hiding underneath that problem. So then what comes next?
Next is the food and dining section. It's your favorite home cooked meal, and it's really a celebration of the family member who makes it. And so we want them, after they identify that favorite home cooked meal, they got to create a restaurant concept that symbolizes that family member and their relationship, and you know what they like most about that relationship. So you know, we got in this upcoming episode a young girl who her grandfather makes her favorite type of fish, and she was like, we have our best time at the beach. So she's created this restaurant that's on the beach. You know, that's where she envisioned his restaurant would be. It would be on the beach, you know, because that's where their favorite place to be is. And so, you know, we want to celebrate family and those and that home cooked meal, and we call it the 5-star dining experience. You know.
I love it. I mean, what a fun thing to do. But when I hear you say that, I hear the success principle of gratitude and how important it is to be grateful for what you have now, even while you're going somewhere else, and never lose sight of what there is right now that you can appreciate. And you're instilling in these kids to celebrate their life. Don't be ashamed of your life. Celebrate it. Be grateful as that continues to open doors for more.
And I also hope that it blesses the family member that they're celebrating.
Oh, yes.
You know, because I'd like to think about, you know, a kid might, one of the most, it's amazing. Chicken nuggets got to be the most popular thing at my elementary school that I was working with. I mean, they just love chicken nuggets, but it's who makes the chicken nuggets, right?
That's right. It's who
and
makes it.
and then, you know, I always make them put, what's your favorite vegetable? Right? Do we have that? Yes. What is your favorite vegetable, right? Because it's important. I feel like it's important that your family member knows what good food you want. You know, if you want the carrots and you want the broccoli with it, and just having that I just think that can be really important. You know, if dad knows that the chicken nuggets with the carrots and the broccoli is the thing that really gets him going, he's gonna know, and it not only celebrates the gratitude, but then that also builds
the bond, builds the relationship.
It builds a relationship.
That's right.
You know, and
to nurture that child.
And it helps the father-son, the father-daughter, the mother-daughter relationship, you know, whether it's the grandparent or the auntie, whoever it is, but it helps them know their significance in ways that they might have completely overlooked, and they need to be celebrated, because home cooked food is important. We eat way too much fast food, way too much junk, and people don't even really get to appreciate that. So that's one of my favorite ones to do.
I think we overlook the importance of letting someone in your life know how much you appreciate them. I mean, being grateful in life in general will immediately change your life. Let me challenge you, go a step further. Tell the person that you're grateful for them, and what. You know, just deepens and enriches relationships when people take the time to value and appreciate openly. You learn that at a young age. I feel like too many kids get scarred and hurt emotionally, and they grow up trying to protect their vulnerable heart and don't realize they've walled themselves off from experiencing deep relationships. And what I think you're doing is you're empowering them to know the importance of that, and they get to experience that on another level.
I hope so.
Okay, what's next after that?
Next after that is the sports section, and that is called a comeback story. And so we just want them to imagine some type of great comeback story, right? Like, what makes a great comeback? And the whole point of that is to get them in to think about just what it takes to be resilient, right? Like, I want a whole sports section of comeback stories, so that after you've read it, you've just been time and time again. It doesn't matter how bad it is. The best setback is it just makes it for a better story, right? However far back you were, that makes the comeback story even better.
There's no good story that's not a comeback story,
right? You know, right. The value of adversity, you know, that's the molding of adversity.
Wow. Not only they learn how to see themselves, they build resilience, but they also begin to value the adversity. Because without the adversity, they wouldn't be the comeback kid. They wouldn't become the leader who transcends, right?
Right, because you know, you don't get courage until you go through.
Yeah, that's right.
You got to go through, and then when you come out on the other side, the amount of courage that you have found in yourself, it's such a blessing. But if you don't have no adversity, you can't have no courage.
I'm sure my folks were trying to teach me that at a young age, but I know my first few licks as an adult hurt. I wasn't prepared. Life hit me really hard for what I was expecting. And I don't think I did it very well. It took me a few years to build the resilience to not let it have the final say over me.
Me too.
You know?
Which is why, once again, we try to make sure they get it early. I'm trying to get it to them early. That's the whole goal. Because I definitely, you know, it took me into my 30s before I realized, you know, that the value of adversity. It's valuable.
You can't get away from it.
And it's valuable.
You know, even as we reach levels of maturity and success, it's not because we've overcome. It's not because there's no more adversity. It's because we see adversity differently now. I no longer see adversity as my enemy or something trying to kill me. I see it as the thing that's trying to grow me. I don't shy away from it because I valued it, only because I've had to endure it through time and learn that the most important lessons I've gotten through life is through those seasons of adversity.
And I think that it's important that we always put adversity in the context of the middle of the story.
That's good. That's
never
great.
the
That's
end of
right.
the
It's
story.
never the end.
Adversity
Feels
is the
like it in the
middle.
moment though, right?
It does.
Right.
It does. And but when you always keep it in the middle of the story, like, where does this end? Where is this going? What am I learning that's going to give me the value? What am I experiencing that gives me the value?
If you could have learned this and internalized this at a young age in elementary school, how's the trajectory of your life changed?
Who knows?
Exactly. That's exactly. Who knows? We probably wouldn't be here together.
Who knows?
You know,
But all things do work together,
That's
so
right.
I'm glad
That's
for
right.
it, brother.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
glad for
Yeah,
it. But
that's
yeah, because, you know, there was certain... I took a few losses that I just internalized and ruminated over for way too long.
Right. The only thing holding us back is ourselves, right?
Way too long.
The adversity doesn't hold us back. We allow it to be a definition of us
It doesn't.
rather than something that's building us.
And when we start to look at, you know, trying to protect ourselves from more adversity, or trying to protect yourself from the pain, it's like, I go to the weight room to feel the pain.
Yes. Right. You
Go
can't
through
build
life.
muscle without it.
You can't.
Right.
You can't. And so, you know, that's one thing that I want to, in the comeback story lesson, is to let them remember a setback is what makes for a good comeback. You now have, your setback is the first recipe for a great story.
That's it. Right. Yeah. That's
So
great.
keep it going.
That's great. So then we're not over yet.
No.
So what?
And so in this first iteration, the last one is called, it's for the arts and entertainment section. And it's called Based on a True Story. And so kind of inspired by all of the movies that are about school for the children, right? Like if you had a story about school, you know, from shows like Even Steven or Diary of a Wimpy Kid, right? Like what would your story? Everybody Hates Chris is another one of my favorite ones that just covered, you know, what was life like in the middle school, elementary school, you know. What would your story be? And what is the way that you want your story to be told, right? So like I feel like a lot of times when you look at yourself as the backdrop in everyone else's story, you don't take hold of all the opportunities that you can have. You don't take hold of all the different relationships that, you know, are really there to assist you in creating your goals, because you're trying to play in the back. But everybody at the end of this is your story.
And everybody has a great story. And I found most people don't know how to tell their story. But almost everyone, if you would take the time to tell your story, you'd have a newfound appreciation for who you are, what you've been through, and what you're capable of. You know, self-confidence is such a critical piece and pivotal piece for success. You know, your results in life are really limited by how you view yourself.
Yeah.
Taking the time to tell your story, I feel like helps anyone, whether it's a child or an adult, really appreciate what they've been through and who they are, continues to raise their belief in themselves, their confidence in themselves, and everything changes when you see yourself differently.
Yeah. And so in this class project, they take that journey of what I want to be when I grow up, how can I help my community, who do I want to celebrate in my family, what is resilience, and how do I want my story to be told. And that's the journey of the class project.
So that's a journey for an elementary school kid near you. It's a journey I want to invite you to take. We'll put those listed in the description of this video so that you'll take the time to take this journey for yourself, because me as an adult, I still need to take that journey. I need to reinforce those principles because they're giving me the foundation for my next mountains that I'm climbing, for the next things that I'm trying to achieve. Not just for my kids, though I hope that they'll take that class one day.
Yeah, so I tell them, It is for children, but it's fun for the whole family.
I bet.
It's fun for the whole family. I've done this family workshops. We were doing them last year. Haven't started them back up this year. But it would be fun to just sit with mom, dad, high schooler, and an elementary schooler and watch them all work through these ideas together. Because when you're brainstorming these ideas together, you're learning about each other. You're also sharing information with each other, right? So when mom, dad, brother, and sister do the best day of your future together, everybody's learning about what something wants to do, right? Because even though it's like what you want to be when you grow up, but for mom and dad, they still have goals.
Yeah, they still have goals.
And then kids are
right.
learning what does mom and dad want to do in the future, right? So when mom starts talking about, well, I've been working on this novel and I'd like to make a bestsellers list, and dad's saying, well, I've been working on this new project and I'd like to be recognized as a top business in the city. Kids are looking at them like, oh, I like that for you.
Newfound appreciation for
and
each
then
other.
and then the kids start saying, well, I want to do this, and dad's like, well, the best college to go to for that is my alma mater. They're like, oh, maybe I should go to college with dad at the college. You know, and so they're sharing information, they're learning about each other on a deeper level, and then, you know, when they all put that together, my man Emmanuel said it's kind of like a vision board.
Yeah,
said, you're
that's
right.
It is.
You know,
Absolutely.
where everybody got their dreams up there together, and then as you just continue to work through the program, it's a learning experience and a bonding experience for everybody. So I think it's I think it's great. I'm excited. There's a lot of excitement around the program, but there's a lot of interest, and so we've started this Kickstarter campaign to get some funds to try to make it free. Put a link in the description.
Go to that link, support this project.
Trying to make it free for schools to just go ahead and start to do some pilot runs with it. And so if you wanted to bring it to your community, go to the Kickstarter campaign. We greatly appreciate all the support, and you can have it donated to a school or a teacher of your choice. You know, we're trying to just figure out how to get it in more schools right now.
That's awesome. Well, I want to end this way. We've spent this episode celebrating the principles of success that are woven in your program, but I want to end by celebrating you as a leader. I bring on leaders onto this podcast that are showing my audience how to become transformational leaders, where they learn what it takes to transform, help someone make transformation in their life, help an organization change, or helping the community change. And Kai, this program is you changing generations. You are literally sowing into the future of society by deciding to create a program that's preparing these kids to be leaders and world changers. Kids that have vision, that have confidence, and have the sight and the ability to recognize problems and make positive change. So for that, I commend you.
I appreciate it.
Appreciate to call you friend, to see this story firsthand. And we just wish you best of luck and success with all that you'll do with this in the lives that you'll change.
Thank you, man.
Thanks for coming on to this episode of Increase.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Yes, sir.